you might have an opportunity to get $500,000 entirely tax-free if you act today. And no, this isn't some cryptocurrency multi-level marketing BS. This is Roth IRAs, compound interest, and a very special time of the year for investors. A Roth IRA is a type of investment account. Just like how a savings account stores money, an investment account stores investments. This could be individual stocks or bonds, but the wiser investors will stick to mutual funds and ETFs. Investment accounts come with tax benefits and restrictions that apply to the investments inside the account. The restrictions on a Roth IRA are designed to make sure you use the money for retirement. After all, IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. The benefit of a Roth IRA is that the earnings you make from your investments come out entirely 100% tax-free. Whoo, boy, doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound nice? Not only do taxes suck, but taxes can also be raised in the future. Roth IRAs remove that future threat. If a greedy future government decides to raise taxes, your Roth IRA earnings are all still tax-free. But the government does like collecting taxes, so Roth IRAs have a yearly contribution limit. Now let's imagine you decide to take advantage of a Roth IRA and make a $6,000 contribution. How much money would you have for retirement? To calculate that, you're going to need to use a compound interest calculator. This is a calculator that factors in compound interest. It's very well named. Compound interest is the idea that you can take your earnings from an investment and reinvest the earnings back into the investment where they came from. Those earnings will then start making their own earnings. Take the earnings and then reinvest them. Then your earnings will produce their own earnings. Take your earnings and reinvest them. Rinse and repeat. If you let this process play out, you'll see financial magic. Using a compound interest calculator, let's see what the value of a $6,000 2022 Roth IRA contribution is if you let it compound over 40 years. Since the US stock market has historically returned around 10%, we will use 10% as the interest rate. Remember, that is 10% over the long term. Some individual years are up 20%, others are down 30%, but historically, the average of the US stock market is around 10%. According to the compound interest calculator, after 40 years, you would have over $270,000. All of this is your money. It's tax-free after all. Now let's kick it up a notch and start taking advantage of the Roth IRA every single year. Let's say you decide to invest $500 a month going forward in addition to the $6,000 contribution. So every year you're putting away $6,000 into a Roth IRA. After 40 years, you'd have over $2.9 million. Congratulations, future multimillionaire. Emphasis on multi. After all, you're not a poor millionaire scrub, you're a multimillionaire. But you're not just any multimillionaire, you're a tax-free multi-millionaire. I hope you didn't forget that all the money in your Roth IRA comes out tax-free. Now, there are some rules you're going to need to follow to contribute to a Roth IRA. Rule number 1, you need taxable compensation. This includes wages, salary, commissions, self-employment income, and more. Rule number 2, you can't make too much taxable compensation. If you make doctor money, you're probably not going to be able to contribute normally. Before we talk about investment ideas for your Roth IRA and where to set your Roth IRA up, let's talk about withdrawing money from a Roth IRA. The withdrawal restrictions are designed to encourage you to leave the money in your Roth IRA alone until retirement. If you want all the earnings to come out tax and penalty free, you need to have your Roth IRA funded for at least 5 years. That's easy to do. You also need to wait until you're age 59 and a half before withdrawing the earnings. If you don't meet the withdrawal requirements and don't meet an IRS exception, like buying your first home, then you expect to pay income tax and a penalty if you withdraw the earnings early. But those rules just apply to the earnings. Your contributions can be withdrawn at any time tax and penalty free. But bear in mind, you do want to leave the account alone. You need to give the compound interest some time to cook and do its magic. If you want to start investing in a Roth IRA, you'll need a brokerage. Just like how a bank is where you open savings and checking accounts to store your cash, a brokerage is where you open investment accounts that store your investments. These days, there are a ton of inferior but cool sounding brokerages, and they advertise everywhere. But you deserve better. Just like how you wouldn't leave a baby with a pack of wolves, don't leave your money with Robinhood, Webull, and other fintech brokerages. Fortunately, even new investors who only have $100 to invest are welcome at the best brokerages. I'm talking Vanguard, Fidelity, and Charles Schwab. Now, personally, I use Vanguard. Vanguard's unique business model makes Vanguard the brokerage that is least interested in hitting you with surprise fees. If you pick one of the three and you don't like it there, it is very easy to transfer your account to one of the other two remaining brokerages. Now let's talk about what kind of investment you want in a Roth IRA. Since the tax benefits of a Roth IRA are tied to investment growth, you want to be looking at high growth investments. That means funds that primarily invest in stock. There are two ideas I would personally consider. The first is a total stock market index fund. This is a fund that buys up the entire United States stock market. You could also pair this fund with a total international stock market index fund to increase your portfolio's diversification. This diversification would help insulate your portfolio if US companies fail to meet investors' expectations. I personally invest using total market funds, with the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF making up 55% of my portfolio and the Vanguard Total International Stock Market making up the remaining 45%. The second idea is a low-cost target date fund, also sometimes called a target retirement fund. This type of fund is a fund of funds. The fund invests into a complete portfolio of other funds on your behalf and manages the portfolio for you. All you need to do is select the rough year you plan to retire, and the target date fund will take care of the rest. For example, someone planning to retire in 40 years from 2023 would likely buy a target date 2065 fund. This is great for an investor who truly desires setting and forgetting their investments. The fund will even automatically make the portfolio more conservative to better protect your money from bad economic times as you near retirement. Now, target date funds do have some bonds in them, but if you're young and you picked a retirement year that's far out in the future, the fund is likely between 90 and 99% stock. With all of this said, don't stress too much about your choice here. Another Roth IRA benefit is that buying and selling within the account doesn't cause taxes. This makes switching between investments super easy. If you start with a target date fund and later in life want to buy a portfolio of funds you manage yourself, that's easy to do. Likewise, if you start with multiple funds and then realize you prefer to set and forget, then swap over to a target date fund. These transactions do not cause taxes. Now, regardless of what you end up investing in, keep your expense ratio under 0.1%. This is the yearly fee you pay to own the fund. The less you pay in fees to own the fund, the more of the fund's return you get to keep. Don't overpay for a fund. Keep it under 0.1% for the expense ratio. At this point, you might be ready to open your own Roth IRA. However, you can't go back in time and make a Roth IRA contribution. There is a deadline for your yearly Roth IRA contribution, but weirdly enough, it's not the end of the year. The deadline is tax day. This creates a special opportunity for investors to contribute for 2 different years at the same time, as long as it's tax day or earlier. For example, if you're watching this on or before April 18th, 2023, you can still contribute for 2022 while also contributing for 2023. That means you could potentially put $12,500 into a Roth IRA today. $6,000 for 2022, $6,500 for 2023. If you let that compound for 40 years with a 10% rate of return, that's over $500,000. And don't you forget, that money is entirely 100% tax-free.